Hi, everyone. We continue with our series of talking to former pastors at Eastside as we celebrate this year our 60th anniversary of ministry, a church that started out in really a field, a cow pasture back in 1961, and now has become a ministry that is in the midst of ever-changing urban Atlanta. And one of the people that made it happen here in our most recent history is my predecessor, Pastor David Chauncey. David, welcome. It's good to see you. Thanks for being on today.
Oh, what a privilege. Thanks for having me.
On this anniversary, tell us how the family is doing. Sarah, and then there's Andrew, Caleb, Luke, Stephen, and Hannah. Everyone will want to know, how's the family?
Family's doing great. Our last two, the twins, believe it or not, they were two when we came to Eastside. They are both first-year students in college. And so Sarah and I are almost empty nesters. And so that gives you a little idea of how much time has gone by. But they're doing great. Andrew lives here, has a job. Caleb's still in Atlanta, and he's the one we left there, and he's still there and doing well. And Luke, our third son, got married recently in July. So we now have another daughter who came in by way of marriage. And so everybody's doing great.
Sounds like grandparenting will be the next step on the journey for you.
Yeah, I just don't feel old enough to be a grandparent, but my wife is looking forward to it, and so am I.
Well, any help or encouragement we can offer you, Sharon and I, we're happy to do that.
All right.
David, you are now at Westside. You went from the East Side to the West Side, Westside Baptist in Gainesville. Tell us about the ministry there.
Westside, it's a much smaller town. It's a college town, the University of Florida.
Yeah.
I'm still holding on as a Georgia fan, but I kind of love to tease my congregation. I really do root for both teams. Whoever can beat Alabama, I get most excited about. It's a college town. It's really a unique ministry, and we're probably the largest Baptist church in the town, but we're not large compared to Atlanta. But it's been a good place to serve the Lord and good people here.
You have been gone from Eastside now. We were talking about it in our pre-conversation here from the interview, about 7 years.
Yeah, it was 7 years this November.
You had a great run here of a decade. Can we go back and just remind folks are informed for the first time, how did the Lord bring you and Sarah to Eastside, I guess now 17 years ago? Sorry about that, but time goes by. How did that happen?
It's amazing how doors open and opportunities present themselves. And we had a really wonderful ministry that was happening at First Baptist in Suffolk, Virginia.
That's right. You're in Virginia.
We're just Suffolk, Virginia. Yeah. And we had a revivalist, a men's speaker, a guy that I had known previously and had him several years at different churches named Al Whittinghill.
Oh, yeah.
And Al was the interim pastor. Al, most of the folks do. And I guess it was through Al that my name sort of made it into the mix, and really wasn't something I was expecting. I'm really looking for, but the committee called me and said they had just prayed for months before they even started looking at various folks. And somehow I was the one they were unanimous on. And
wow.
I just knew from meeting that committee the first time that these were prayerful, serious people and who had sought the Lord on that. And I loved the opportunity of that multicultural Marietta area and all the opportunity to see people from all over the world come to know Christ. And so through that whole mix, we ended up there, and here we come with our 5 little kids, and what great people. And they welcomed us and loved us well for 10 years.
So how old would you have been when you came? We don't want to know.
38.
That wouldn't be right. You were 38. So they
38.
saw in you that's almost like the perfect age for the pastor that people look for, right?
Looking back on it now, it's amazing they took a chance on me. This is a legacy church with such great history and such a great ministry. And I'm so grateful that they allowed me to learn and grow there as a pastor, because I certainly didn't know everything I was supposed to know.
David, when you came here, I do think that you were the first pastor that probably had a singing voice of our predecessors, and they loved your preaching and teaching, but they loved your ministry and song. Did you have a background going back for years? Did you sing in choirs, do solo work, or duets, quartets, that kind of thing?
Like a lot of us, it started in children's choir,
Church.
Youth choir, and I always loved music. And when I came out of seminary, my first job was a music and youth minister at a small church in Charlotte. And I just loved to sing and play the piano, and would mix it in with preaching. And I always say that when I go to my next church, I'm not going to ever sing, because that's all they remember about me. Hopefully they remember one or two sermons.
They do here, I promise you. But
okay, good.
Also there's something about the art of a song and the how that emotes, and our sermons are 30, 35, sometimes 40 minutes. And the song is compacted and they can remember. And usually it's a song they know or some memory of a past loved one or something. So I'm with you. I know. But they do remember. They do remember the singing, and they also remember the preaching. What was appealing about Eastside at that time coming? You were 38, young family. You mentioned multiculturalism, the urban aspect, very different from what you were in Suffolk. What were some of the appeals of this local church? You talked about a legacy church. And one of the things I would just say as an offering was I was always encouraged that this was a church that I look back on it and gave pastors a long tenure. They didn't run pastors off here like some of our fellow churches do.
Yeah, I think the incredible opportunity there in Atlanta and in Marietta in particular, but the maturity of the church, the spiritual maturity that had been built up over years and years of incredible lay leadership and incredible pastors and preaching. And I just saw it and I had followed two other retiring pastors before, and it had been a great experience. And Gerald wasn't retiring, but he was moving to a different type of ministry. And I saw it as a situation where that maybe I could help revitalize a little bit and help, move it forward. And
it was a generational shift too.
It was
38. Yeah,
it really was. And I think having all my kids and my kids getting involved in the Christian schooling, it really helped integrate the school well.
Yeah,
I thought that I loved being a part of. In fact, Christian schooling was something that was a passion of mine, and I loved being at a church that had that ministry.
And you'll be encouraged to know it's still going on, and I think you were not too long ago and saw it in operation. And
yes,
I think we're approaching almost 40 years for the Christian school now.
The impact of those two ministries together, will only be seen in heaven. It's incredible, the ministry that's been done there.
David, what were some memories of moments in your life, in your own development as a leader, your own development as a pastor, maybe as a dad, father, that happened during your Eastside years? Some landmark moments or events that you might recollect, a highlight.
Yeah. So much of it for me is individual relationships. It's hard. And I think of close friends that went to be home with the Lord during my time there.
Right.
I think of weddings that I got to do. I think of young couples that connected and started growing and having children. I think of baptizing my own children there. So many of those individual moments, but there are incredible times of worship You talk about the music. I mean, I really loved that it was such a worshiping church, but it had a great heart for mission. And so some of the big moments when we helped start some new language churches and different ministries like that were big moments. I loved that this church allowed us to do some new things, try some new things. We instituted, kind of transitioned to an elder model. I'm so grateful for the incredible elders that encouraged me and counseled me along the time. So that transition was new for me as a leader and really an exciting change I was glad to be a part of. But it's really the people. Those relationships are what really stick in my heart and my mind.
And you have people who have been very kind to me, but man, they loved you and still love you, and it kept relationship. And when you think about that, you and Sarah are here, from your mid to late 30s into your mid to late 40s, and you have that decade of run, and you raise kids together, and the schoolmates, and they're over at the house, and your kids are over your friend's house, and you have church. It was a great run for your family and for you, and again, people just speak of you with tremendous affection. Tell us about Westside and how we can be praying for you in the days ahead, and then any final thoughts that you might have that you would wish for this your former church family on this 60th anniversary. Tell us a little bit about the challenges of Westside. We know you're like us, post-COVID. It's a whole new world, lots of challenges, frustrations, and I can only imagine. And we haven't rehearsed this conversation, but and I talk to preachers across the country. Things are tough all over, when it comes to that.
They are, and people have made adjustments in their church habits during this COVID period that
you're very gracious.
Some are not.
You're very gracious how you said that.
and have not adjusted back. But I'll tell you some of the positives is that what we've seen in our town is there's a renewed hunger, I think, for clear teaching of God's word. For some reason in our town in particular, the denominational lines just sort of fallen away. We've got people of different denominations and who are looking for a place that offers community, who are trying to minister and do missions and trying to serve their community, but they're also looking for truth in a world that just simply has cast it aside. Oh. There's no anchor in our culture. There's nothing. I think the bedrock of our culture has just been completely uprooted. People are floating. They're looking for some group and some word from the Lord to give them. And so we're seeing a lot of, we've had people that left or moved on or stopped coming, but we've seen a lot of new folks who are looking for community, and COVID really challenged some of their assumptions about life, got them thinking about
eternity,
their mortality.
Yeah.
And they're looking for truth in a truthless age.
Well, you're the man there to teach and preach the word of God to them, and I applaud you and salute you for that. David, before we go, any words of encouragement or affection that you'd like to leave this church family called Eastside that you served faithfully for a decade?
Yeah, it's hard for Sarah and I to even express our gratitude for receiving this young ministry family, and I think every parent would understand how grateful we are that this church embraced our children, loved our kids, invested in them, and that's something you just can't pay for. There's no price for that. So we're so grateful for the way you loved and encouraged us and allowed us to use our calling there and our giftedness in whatever way. And you said it best, John, that period of time in our life is where we where you do life together with other families like you never do at any other time. So some of our closest friends are still our closest friends, related to our kids growing up together there. But I loved people from every age group there and miss you. And I'm just praying, and I know God is going to use Eastside. It's a legacy church. It's got an incredible foundation. I just came and did my watering on the things that have been planted there, and planted a few things that you've been watering and planting. And we're going into a challenging new age, I think, in our nation. But you've got the hope. You've got the hope of Christ. You've got the gospel. And I'm excited to see what God's going to do through Eastside. And you'll always be a huge part of my heart and Sarah's heart. And we're so grateful for you.
Well, David, thank you for the encouragement. And on behalf of our elders, our staff, our congregation, former Eastsiders who were here when you were here, who may not be with us now, and just for a legacy of faithfulness. And, we didn't enter into an era of doctrinal drift. You kept us squarely focused on Christ and the sufficiency of Christ and the sufficiency of Scripture. And you continue to proclaim the gospel. And there are people here who do love you and look forward to seeing you again. And we do hope that when you're back in the city, seeing your family, that you'll let us know. And you're always welcome here. And just thank you for a decade of service. It is not easy. It wasn't easy then. It's not easy now. But you did it, and you did it with excellence and unto the Lord. And we're really grateful. And I hope you'll pass our gratitude as a church, not only to Sarah, but to your kids too, because all are involved in a way in the sacrifice of what a pastor is called to do in a place like you were called here. So you have our love, you have our respect, and thank you for letting us have an anniversary occasion with you after these years.
Hey, thank you for including me. Happy anniversary. Look forward to seeing you from time to time when I'm up there. Thank you, Pastor John, for all that you do.
Thank you so much. David Chauncey, former pastor here, and just a dear, dear man that made a difference here at Eastside. And I hope you've enjoyed some time of seeing him again, hearing that wonderful voice of his, and know of his appreciation for your support of him and his family while they were here. Pray for him in Gainesville and the work there, obviously for his family, that God will continue to bless in this, yes, what is a very challenging time. But David and I both know, and you do too, that God is able and God is faithful. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.